In a world where attention is a prized currency, your story is a powerful invisible asset that you can use to penetrate the minds of your customers for a profit or a purpose.
Story warrior, we rise and we lead from the motherland slain. Stories of power, remember the name. Business warriors, voices that shine, African spirit in every line. Lead, inspire, tell your story. Legacy in motion, this is our glory. Story warriors at viewers.
Welcome to the Story Warrior podcast. If you're watching for the first time, let me tell you this. You're in for a treat because today we have the guest I have been waiting to have for more than a year. He's not just a random guest. He's someone that I know I'm highly placed and flavored because God placed us in the same premises from a million years back. Back then we were like walking around, running around, and we didn't know any better. We did not ever foresee that someday we'll be somewhere we could have enough in our refrigerator to eat and enough to share with others. So tonight you'll get to know about a brother and a friend who has emerged as a giant in his field. I'm talking about Dr. Christian Ntukwe, who is coming today not because he's a brother and a friend, but in his own right as an entrepreneur par excellence. The man who has been making millions for others, and yes, I'll say arguably for himself. And he's gonna share with us his journey of starting from scratch. Doctor, or I would prefer Dom, welcome to the Story Warrior podcast. We can't wait to hear about some of the work that you've been doing, but take us back. Where did you grow up? Take us to your roots. How are you able to, get so confident to do so many things and build so many millionaires? Take us to what did Mama feed you? What did she give you that I did not necessarily eat?
Oh, my brother, thank you so much for giving me the voice on your platform. I really appreciate that. Let me step down from the pedestal that you and say that I'm really humbled to have been able to be on this space right now, be here in the United States. I think it's a great blessing to be in this country and to be in an environment where I could be able to dream. Just the capacity to dream and know that it is possible is something that we didn't have the privilege growing up in Cameroon. Yes. And so, yes, I'm originally from Cameroon, just like you. We all grew up together, and from Bamenda specifically. And I grew up in a very difficult environment until Missionaries found me and invested in my story. Missionaries, American missionaries, who thought that I had something to be able to give back. I have to call his name. I really have so much respect and for him. Yeah. Mr. Lamson, who is still in Ohio now in the United States, Michael Lamson, just an extraordinary person and almost like a father figure to me right now. And so I am my story. He invested in my story. And here we are about 20 years. I'm able to give back. Everything I'm doing right now is a blueprint of his investment in me, what he saw in me, and in his own way giving back and helping us in Cameroon. And almost every venture that I design or think about is really impacted by my experience with Mr. Lamson.
Wow. See, you came from East End, or shall I say West End. I was hoping to get an entry from the front, and you came from East Wing, which of course I'm a little bit aware of, but I was hoping you would tell me about some other part of the story that I was more familiar with, because I did ask you. I know we grew up in about the same compound, but I know we ate food sometimes. What did mom feed you sometimes that I did not see that you have grown up in your own right and you've raised many millionaires? I don't want to call names, well, because you do it in the most selfless way. You do it from a place of wholesomeness. And so I'm inviting all our viewers, for those of you who are trying to build businesses, pull your chairs closer, because this brother, either Mama gave him something that I don't know, or he surely has eaten something from Mr. Lamson that I don't know. Tell us, what did you eat? What was in the diet?
I thank you for bringing me back to the original root, the foundation. I lost my dad when I was about 8 years old, and my mom has really been the solid rock behind the foundational character that I have, the person that I have become, the person upon whom the Lamsons invested was not a blank slate.
Yes.
I'm glad you brought that up. But this is a woman of very deep principles when it comes to giving, principles of love and sacrifice. I saw that growing up with her. We really, basically, you probably do remember.
Yes.
Our father passed away. We had to fend for ourselves. We had to go to the farm to get stuff to eat, and then have to sell some to be able to meet up with basic necessities of life. So this lady, she's still alive today. My mom, a solid rock, and you know, instilled into me principles that I'm still grateful that I have today. Fundamental among is the respect of self and the other, and always putting self in the second place. And I think that when you talk about the humility that I have, having been able to coach other people into millionaires and making more money, I think it is partly built upon that sense of service to others, and primarily helping them to see the greatness that they have in themselves, and helping them rise up to that for themselves first before myself. So I think most of what I do, even if you look at Mazi, the brand that I'm wearing right now, all the plantation business that we have in Cameroon, all the coaching business, as a matter of fact, they are all designed to be able to give back to the community, and that is my mother. You know, that's just who she raised other children, and in the same household there were cousins who came from the village, and some of my cousins, I always tell this story, I lived with. I thought they were my sisters, and so when I was about
those of us who were tenants and you thought we were brothers?
Exactly right. You were tenants in our house.
Tenants,
and I got so frustrated and disappointed when I was told 18 that these were not my brothers. I was so hurt. These were not my sisters. I was so hurt because we grew up knowing that we're all family, just because of the way she gave, and I'm blessed significantly because I've assumed most of those characters.
Okay, yeah. I want to give a blast of this recently arrived vuvuzela from Gilbert. One blast to mom, and one blast to Mr. Lamson.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to blow off the roof, because without such inspiration, this journey would have been in vain. It would have been futile altogether. So let me just put it this way. At what moment did you realize my story has shifted from survival to something completely different, maybe thriving, or my story has become a strategy that is helping other people to run multi-million-dollar businesses? So at what point did you recognize that the lessons from the story from mom, the lessons from the Lamsons have empowered you to be this giant who is capable of inspiring other people to take it as a strategy, not just for survival, but to thrive in whatever field they're choosing?
So thank you for that question. There really isn't really like an explosive moment per se in time, but it is an accumulation of different experiences. Before I met Mr. Lamson, I was part of the Junior Chairman International, a youth leadership and business training organization that is global, but it's in Cameroon. And so I went to the Ivory Coast about age of 19 and did what they call prime training, which is a basic training. And I came back home, and in the same spirit, like I said, that I inherited from my mom, I wanted to give back to the community. So I've been doing leadership training and community services. And then I met Mr. Lamson on the beach one fateful, I think it was like a Tuesday afternoon, because he was my neighbor on the beach where I was staying. And he came to my balcony and we had a 45-minute conversation. And that's just what changed my life. And he just told me about his story. I told him what I was doing, and I told him about the other part, because I was working with a road construction company at that time. I was doing leadership training with Junior Chairman International. He said, why don't you come and help my company? So I went there, did an assessment with this company, and with one university professor, Dr. Chahier Ehone in Yaoundé, we did some training with his organization. And the assessments that came 2 weeks after, he was very impressed. And he offered me the job of a program director for the country and for the region.
Amazing.
This is in my early 20s, so 21, 22. And so he saw that in me and invested in me, gave me the opportunity.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank
Gave me the opportunity to be able to rise to the highest level of my potential in Cameroon. And so that is actually the moment I saw that it is possible to be able to see in somebody abilities rather, that probably is not even able to tap into. Gave me the room to grow more than I have ever been able to experience. And so it added on to my experience of really the drive to wanting to see the best in other people through coaching.
Yes.
And that has really cemented that. And I've tested it from 1 to 2 other people. And as you say, some of my previous clients who are now multi-millionaires, I did nothing extraordinary except for helping them discover what I call their scientific morale in French, the core of their being, and see how they could transform that into business ownership and for themselves, hold them accountable to usually what is it's difficult for most people to tap into.
Yes.
And I would say that it is from that experience with my own transformation and given the opportunity to excel for myself that I'm now able to happily give back to others with a few clients that I've been able to transform into extraordinary success.
Wow. Okay. I'll come back to some of those extraordinary success stories in a minute. But clearly you have mastered the art of finding your own story and helping other people to find their story. But you've also been able to take that confidence from your own story to found or to start many businesses. One of them is your coaching business, which has made millionaires that I'm aware of in real estate, in technology. You've also used your own confidence and your own transformation to start agro-industrial plantations in Cameroon, which are giving jobs to hundreds of people. And at the same time, you're still working a full-time job as a senior medical healthcare professional. And yes, as if that's not enough, you've also founded an apparel company. First, how many hours do you have in a day? And secondly, how are you able to get into so many things and do them so well? So much so that you get a recognition from many. And for those of us who really look at it, we look at it in absolute awe.
Well, thank you for that question. We always joke that when I pray, I ask God to add more to 24 hours, right?
Oh, okay.
But as a matter of fact, if you read the 4-Hour Work Week, I think that book really opened my brain in a big way in my ability to be able to set up different businesses. I invest a lot initially, then I delegate and create an autonomous structure that can be functioning with supervision from a distance. But more importantly also, and I think it's a reference to the same principle that I have in terms of allowing people to embody themselves within my businesses. So I don't set up businesses and employ people. For the most part, my strategy is that I begin the core of the business with a key cultural carrier, a person who would transfer the vision, and hopefully it aligns. Now, it doesn't always come out smoothly. It takes a while, right? But I spend a lot of time, and sometimes I have to go through quite a few people. But when I do find the right person who carries the culture of the business or the venture, I build around that person, around their Mazi is the same thing. The agro-industrial complex in Cameroon is about the same thing. Some of us are familiar with. And so to the extent that the vision of the business.
They own the vision? Okay.
They own the vision, and I only guide the overall overarching structure of the business and help guide them, of course, in partnership to make any detours or how things are going, and then manage it from a distance on a fairly regular basis. And so it's not like a complete hands-off, but then bring them in to the extent that their interest is vested in the business and in a very honest and equitable way that they're able to. And of course, it's not always, as I say, it's not necessarily always easy, but that's how I start every business. Every venture that I'm starting, I have one again that I'm working on right now. And the only way I'll be able to do that is because I spin them off. So I start, create a structure, invest a lot of time, the vision, it's almost like a co-founder relationship. And then as soon as it's beginning to have structure and function, I start budding it out.
Wow.
And then it becomes like a branch of a bigger tree.
Okay. So it becomes part of the Wakaman Enterprises, or it becomes part of the Ntukwe holding group. But I
It's
want us to
Wakaman.
talk about Mazi,
Yeah.
which is one of those that I have observed you work for years, tirelessly for years. You employed staff, you made trips to, I think, Pakistan, Philippines, Mexico, Turkey, many countries. You were growing it silently on the side while still working and still managing the other businesses. My question is, how much in terms of conviction about your story do you have that this is going to work out someday? Because now Mazi has gone public in the sense that Mazi is out there in the stores. There were moments when I had doubts. There were moments when I said, oh my God, I hope he's not going to lose so much money in this deal, because I saw you work painstakingly for so long. So my question, I think, is really, you must have a very deep reservoir of confidence in your ability and in your story to turn things around, no matter how difficult, no matter how murky they are. And I want to say, tell us a little bit, what keeps you going? What is it about your approach? What is it about your internal core, which you've talked about a fair bit? What is it about your story and your conviction that this is going to work no matter what, especially with respect to Mazi?
Well, thank you for saying that. I did travel quite a bit, but most of the time it was actually understanding how I could tell the story of healthcare providers, not my story. And the reason why it took me quite a bit. It was a combination of factors. This idea started during the COVID-19 era, and then I developed. It's one of the challenges of business ownership. You really have to be one to understand some of that. Being that I do anesthesia very well, this is what I've been doing for more than 15 years. I have mastered the art, but running an apparel brand, it's completely new to me as well.
Yes.
And so I went through some hitches, some different challenges. I would do it completely different right now. I'm actually thinking of creating a masterclass in that, because I think I have a lot of experience in that. But then, post-COVID went very well. We had the bulk of the material came here, the production came here, and we found a 30% defect rate. And remember, I'm focusing on the customer, not myself. And I could not use that to represent what a brand is. So we had to start from scratch. That's something that is in the background. Most people, even including you might not have been aware of fully. But what kept me going, in spite of the challenges and potential financial
headaches, nightmares,
that it goes through, that is because I still see the story of my workers, my co-workers, not my.
Yes.
It's not changed, and nobody is telling it the way Mazi would tell it. It still stays the same. So the mission never changes. The vision has never changes. And this vehicle, which is what we wear every day, the apparel, giving them the voice, the ability to be present. We go to work every day. One of the things that really clicked into my mind is like during COVID-19, it's like, I'm behind here. There's a drip separating me and the patient. The surgeon is doing his surgery. And this is a very critical moment in the life of individuals. Yeah. I've done anesthesia for tens of thousands of people by now.
Yeah.
Yet, I'm not taking it. It's not just a prideful thing for myself. Yet, I'm almost invisible. So I come to work, comply, and I'm in a very, very vulnerable part of somebody's life, and then I'm expected to disappear. And I said, if I'm feeling this way, then most of my colleagues are feeling the same as well. And the narrative, to the extent that I want to show that me and my colleagues, when we come to work, when we come to work, we own our space. And part of that is
invisible. You cannot be invisible anymore.
Exactly. You will not be invisible. You cannot be ignored anymore. And what's the best way to decide how you want to present at work. Now, I know that not every institution would allow healthcare providers to wear whatever they want, but there's a significant percentage and portion of them who can do that. And if you cannot wear the scrub that you want, you can wear the underscrub. Look at this sign. It's a sign of individuality, the power of the person, the individual as part of the group. And so you speak strength, you're present. It's still very professional.
Of course.
But you have to recognize all of our designs, they live intentionally. meant to make people not disappear.
Very interesting. So you are wearing Mazi apparel, some of which you are beginning to share with the world, mostly healthcare professionals. So for someone who has not heard about Mazi, what would you say wearing a Mazi apparel? What story does it tell? I sense it's very unique. I see there's a tiny little white line there. Is it a name or something?
It says one of a kind. One kind.
You see, one of a kind. That's beautiful. I did not even know. It's like coded language. Then I see you're showing me a little grief there. Talk to us about the story and how that story inspires someone who is working in an environment in which they almost feel invisible.
So the name Mazi is from Greek, which means together. And if you go on our website, iwearmazi.com, you'll see that in the name Mazi, there is a logo. If I may show some of it here.
Okay.
The logo.
Yep.
Yeah, that's Mazi.
Mm-hmm.
This same zeta is part of the brand Mazi itself. Mazi means together. The zeta is also the sixth letter of the Greek alphabet, which kind of represents a spark of life. Our intention as a brand is to emphasize the power. This is what I saw, especially during COVID-19, of a team coming together. You saw people in unique ways. It was the only time where everybody shredded their egos or whatever jackets they were carrying of themselves in such unique ways, bare, raw and really authentic. And I thought that was very beautiful. And I asked myself, how can I capture this even in a brand name? So Mazi means together. However, in the name Mazi, as you could see the zeta, that the spark of life represents the individuality, not ism, the individuality of the person, which makes the whole even much more powerful. And so that is the essence. If you look at also on our website, we are currently carrying the Purple Rain collection. Purple is a sign of royalty, and I want healthcare professionals to assume that they are royalty. They are not just just a nurse or just a physical therapy. It's rather they are unique in their individuality, and they are royalty. They need to be more for themselves, and that's how all of our designs are very intentional in helping them assume the story that they want to tell. You don't work with cookie cutter scrubs. You go to work design because we have a variety of colors, a variety of designs. You assume what personality you want to bring to work today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that. And for high-end healthcare professionals like yourself, you guys, you're not non-entities. You're very unique. You're highly trained. You have spent a lifetime giving of yourself. So, hey, looking unique, looking extraordinary without flashing is something that I certainly very, very much value. But here's what I like to also know. Has the fact that Mazi is a brand about individuality as part of the whole, as part of the team, has telling that story ever helped you to reach certain market spaces or to be able to outplay some other bigger names in the industry? Has that story, is it beginning to resonate? Is it giving you a competitive advantage in the marketplace? Or what is the situation so far? Because you've launched for a couple of months now.
Well, thank you for that question. One of the challenges that I face as an entrepreneur is that I tend to be more mission driven than huge, heavy profit. And I know profit will come when our mission is quite aligned with the story of the healthcare providers. And so I have never really been looking at competition and saying, I know that there's Figs, there is Janu. However, I know they don't tell the story of the healthcare provider like I do. And one story that stuck with me, and I still have that $100 bill from a lady who bought when I went for a church or on a conference in Chicago. I think the same conference you were there with your business as well. And when I told the story of the brand and our intention in terms of focusing on the individual and raising their profile workspace, this lady is a pharmacist. We didn't go there to sell. We didn't even have all of our products there. And she said, okay, how much is this? She picked one of, I think it was she picked, I think it was a pink. Yeah, it was this one of the Purple Rain collections. It's called Ife. I named this after a colleague from Nigeria. Her name is Ife because she really epitomizes most of the aspects of what the brand stands for.
Wow.
I picked this. It was out of the bag. We were just displaying it, and she says, I want to take this. I said, no, we are displaying it. We don't have enough to sell. She said, no, I have it. I was like, how can I say no? She's like, how much is it? And I'm like, well, it's about, I told her the price. And she said, she gave $100 and I said, well, do you mind if I ship it to you? Because we don't have, she said, no, this is mine. She put it in her bag. She says, I like the story. I like what you're doing. And she said, because I was there with my son, Joshua,
Yes.
she
Yeah.
said, give the change to your son.
Oh
I mean,
my God.
I'm telling you,
You see?
I was speechless,
Yes.
and I did not intend to convince or persuade
Yeah.
her. I just told the story.
You have to let that happen because
Yeah, so those are the things that I focus on more so as to how we're displacing the competition. I am more interested in the stories of the people that I work with on a daily basis. The other day, one of my colleagues sent me a text message and said, I have seen somebody who is wearing here at work.
wow.
My goodness, it looks so different. That's more than saying I have sold this number of scrubs.
Yes.
And there's this other story.
And you're
When
just
I-
getting started. How many months in have you been doing this? Because if people start to acknowledge they've seen Mazi,
Yeah.
how many months in, if you don't mind?
Just about 6 months since we
There
launched.
you go. So less than a year. It's already resonating.
Yeah, and again, not just with healthcare providers. This is one thing
There you go.
I thought but did not really anticipate. About 3 different times, and I get really emotional when I think about it. I have been at work. There was a patient that came to the endoscopy suite. She was really very sick, and they were trying to do what we call EGD. Look through her stomach with a scope to see what was going on there. She had anemia. She was bleeding a lot, and she could barely open her eyes. And when I moved too close to her to get a consent, because she was still mentally okay to consent for anesthesia, and she opened her eyes slowly. And as soon as she saw me with a Purple Rain collection, because that's splatters on the shoulder, her eyes went wide open, and she reached out. I thought she was getting to touch my face. She held her hand on this. She's like, I like this. And suddenly, inadvertently, not even on intention, by my intention, she lit up. Everybody in the room was like, everybody in the room was telling her that I was my scrub brand. And these are the stories that make me more excited about what we do. It is changing the environment, helping healthcare providers own the spaces within which they occupy, so they cannot disappear in what they do every day.
Imagine putting a smile on the face of that woman who was maybe a little bit petrified, a little bit worried about that moment. Imagine Mazi putting a smile on her face. Imagine the lady in Chicago grabbing one of the items and saying, this is mine. I'm going home with this.
Yeah. It's like
Here's my next question, and I'm beginning to wrap up here. How are you mining this invisible gold and putting it back into the Mazi journey? How are you picking up these anecdotes, these bits and pieces that would continue to validate the e-face of the world who believe that individuality is absolutely right in the midst of diversity? How are you mining that to continue growing the brand?
I'm telling that on social media. That's the story of our brand. You're not read any of our postings on Instagram and TikTok talking about how beautiful the brand is. How, as you can see, it looks
very unique. It looks very unique.
Guess what? The name of this design is called Unico, which
Unico.
Yeah, Unico.
Almost sound like unicorn.
So
which is unicorn also means very unique.
Exactly.
Very hard to find. So I'm
correct. So we continue to tell the story. We take other people's experiences and share it, and to build a community. Our plan is to be able to build a community where healthcare providers can find themselves in the stories of others and share and a shared space, and most importantly to recognize that I don't need to disappear. I can own this space. And the fact that one or two have had that experience will give them the the strength or even the
Yes.
courage to be able to do the same as well.
Wow. So I see a situation in which a few years from now or 6 months from now, you would have had a good collection of curated stories that people have been touched by the Mazi brand. So as a founder who has worked so hard in raising millionaires, who has helped other people selflessly becoming very successful. So my question is, as you begin to grow this new momentum with Mazi in touching people's lives very personally, after spending more than 4 or 5 years curating these items, so how do you feel about that? And where do you see the brand in 5 years?
Well, honestly, I really feel vindicated. You know, when you start an idea, even though we had it, the brand is not really just my idea. I have to tell you that upfront. It was born out of conversations with my colleagues at work. So when the idea came as how do I represent this loss of self at our place of work and the loss of individuality and presence, how do I represent that what we wear? That was the original idea, and I was asking questions from my friends and colleagues, and most of these came to play in terms of the different designs. So I really feel vindicated that when I took that, went through the processes that it takes to, I crafted. I used to use pieces of this. I still use that up to date. These are cards that come out of operating room gowns when
I see.
That's how I started designing. Then I started my designers to come up with replicas, and then we do that, and so on and so forth. So to be able to see how it has been received is really a vindication of that vision that I had, and I'm using the same in the different designs and colors that are coming up in the spring and in the summer. Our designs are not like it. You will not see that anywhere else. Okay. Of course, you see the same colors, some of the same colors, but the way we play with colors with our uniquely patented technology keeps us apart from the competition. But again, it's not really the competition, it's to finding unique and new ways to have be more present at the place of work.
That's amazing. So if somebody is curious, they want to put their hands on Mazi, because I have been fortunate to touch, and they're smooth, they're good. I have some that I'm waiting for spring to start doing some, just talking about them, how hopefully I'm in better shape by spring. But my question is, if somebody wants to get their hands on Mazi outfits, apparel, what do you have in stock and how can they find that?
Well, our website is iwearmazi.com. Just simple.
Mazi. How do you spell Mazi?
Mazi. iwearmazi.com. Okay. That's our website, and our social handles is iwearmazi on Instagram and TikTok. So that's where it is. And for those who are watching right now, for a very limited time, they can get a 25% discount if they mention Story Warrior, and you get a 25% discount.
Warriors,
yeah,
you better be moving. You get a 25% discount on these amazing Mazi outfits if you mention the word Story Warrior. And I can tell you, from what I have touched, from what I have seen, I could not wait to have my own until I had it. Was it around November or December? I could not wait. Every time when I saw you doing a new iteration, I just say, oh my God, when am I gonna have mine? So I am so lucky that I have 1 or 2 in spring. We're gonna do 1 episode in which I'm gonna be wearing them. Hopefully then I have some 6-packs. I'll be looking really, really buff. But this is a true testament to your hard work. How has your African package, in other words, your resiliency, your story as an immigrant, your journey, all of those things, those challenges that you face to be here, how they help you to be the prime mover of yet another successful business? Just like you have agro-industrial, just like you've done very well with your business in coaching. How has your Africanness, the story, the challenges, the ups and downs, have they molded you to be this prime mover who is yet leading us to another destination?
Well, that's a very important question. I think one of the most underestimated and overlooked aspect of business ownership, and especially entrepreneurship, is persistence. If you look, it underlies the story of almost every successful entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And that for us in Africa, I'm sure you know that, it's assumed. You can't say, you're not even going to learn about it. It is assumed that that's how you have to succeed.
Flows in your bloodstream.
Yeah, and if you look at the stories, even in the Bible, God has never given anything easy for anybody else. Anybody of doing anything of worth, anything of significant value, has never had it that easy. So blueprint is already set up for us. Does it mean that you have to kill yourself and get stuck into an idea till the end? No, you have to know when to pivot. But usually for most people, it is just the distance between their idea, the vision and the idea. That gap has a lot of ups and downs, and most people cannot traverse that. Yes. So if your vision stays the same, how you get there might change. But if you stick to what that vision is, and you need to make sure that vision is exactly what you assume it to be. In my coaching practice, I use this famous framework called the Ikigai in order to help people find out exactly what's important for them and how to craft that into what the world needs, that their skills can be able to get them to that level.
Wow, that's certainly transformational, not only in your coaching business, but I can see that it has contributed to Mazi. And so now, before we go, if you have something special to reaffirm, this is a good time. As for me, I am very eager to know where is Mazi going to be in 6 months. But if you have something important to wrap it up, this is a good time.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here. I just want to say to my colleagues who walk into the room, do great work that transforms, changes people's lives, and then disappear or feel unseen. Mazi was designed to flip the script. I would dare and challenge you to wear Mazi and be ignored. Every piece is designed to help you own the space, and it is a conversation. It is not like I have decided that this is how we're going to speak. Most of it has come from my colleagues, those of you who know me. A lot of them, even at UTMB in Houston, as well as Lubbock and the different places I've worked up in the north in Maine. I had these conversations with them, and so the brand is the outcome of these conversations, and they continue to be evolving. And so I give you the chance and the opportunity to assume what you have helped me design. Amazing.
And Mazi almost sounds like amazing too.
It does.
Did I get that wrong?
As a matter of fact, one of our products, the mouthpad that we use, it's actually, we are right out there. You are amazing. We use
there
it.
You go.
And Mazi also is a word in Igbo, which I didn't know that, which means Mr. being present and being a man of authority. So that word it actually spans beyond the Greek foundations.
Story warriors, take your time, go check out I Wear Mazi, and take your time to have a feel of this. Write some comments, talk about this, share this with your mom, with your dad, with your girlfriend, with your boyfriend who is in the world of healthcare and even beyond. Because I'm not in healthcare, but I've enjoyed wearing Mazi. So this has been one of those episodes from the Story Warrior podcast, where we have been in the great presence of someone who is changing the world, a trailblazer, a founder, changing the world one person at a time with one story of transformation. This is Gideon Fumukwai, a product of Africa, produced in Asia, packaged in America, and distributed worldwide, just like Mazi. Thank you so much, Dr. Christian Ntukwe, and may God continue to guide you on the way forward, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Fumukwai. It's been a pleasure.